I have one particular issue, that I have seen in the community that we must address. And this is the relationship between the black male and the black female. It's absolutely horrible. It's degrading. It's in a situation to where, we as brothers actually need to sit down and have this, have this consultation about this moment, because we get out here and, some of us, we really do our best and we really try hard. But because of the hierarchy that the black female has been put in, even though when she so-called becomes conscious-minded, she never escapes, what's been embedded into her psychologically. So we still have to deal with the constant disrespect and, this and that, things of that nature. How do we get them to look at us differently? Because we can't go and change what they watching on TV. We can't change the programming on the TV. And this is what they see all the time, 24/7. And we need some ways, in order to get them to change that mind state. What is it that we can do, in order to start, bringing the family back together and getting these sisters to understand, what's going on in this time?
I have, throughout my life, I've just loved our sisters, and just had a particular way of, or just my way of just talking to them. And I realized that there are some that are caught up in certain things. And there are some brothers that are caught up in certain things. Somewhere along the line, somebody has to be strong enough to break this nonsense that is stopping us from being just open and honest with our sisters. And I honestly, this is where I'm coming from. I believe that as black men, we have to set the tone by the way in which we conduct ourselves. And I believe, like I normally have said before, that somebody has to break this cycle. It's the strong person that's going to break the cycle. And I believe that in a dynamic conversation with a sister that we happen to care about, if that be the case, then there has to be an open dialogue. Let me tell you something that I was involved with. I was involved with a series of workshops that raised that same concern. This happened to be Sister's concern about the brothers. Mm-hmm. And so Sister asked me if I would be willing to partner with her in developing this dialogue, bring sisters and brothers together. And we did. And my thing was to, in the beginning, we all would assemble in a room like this, and the brothers and I would go into another part of the building, and the sisters would go with the sister who had organized this, and they'd talk. About a half hour into the conversation, we would switch, and then I would go with sisters, and she would go with the brothers. There'd be another conversation. It would be geared not so much to tell the sisters what the brothers were saying. It was just as a brother who loved these sisters dearly, respected them dearly, there was a conversation going on as it relates to, well, how do you feel? And she did the same thing with the brothers. After that, we came out and then we ate. Because it was very important, because after that, we'd have like a speak out where everybody was together talking. Let me give you an example of one of the questions. We brothers in here, here's one of the questions that the sister wanted to know. Why do brothers like big behinds? Now that's how, you're young, James. Okay, please. I think you hear that, but I mean, I have to let it out this way to help you understand. Right. This was the type of questions that sisters were wondering about.
Wow.
And now they don't realize you just like that. That don't mean that's all you want.
No, it doesn't. But the question was.
That's how they take it down.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you making comments about that when there's so many other things? Mm-hmm. But we got sayings. Baby got back, and all sorts of things we say, right? As brothers, we got these sayings, and so the sisters are wondering what's in the brother's mind, what's in a man's mind that makes them attracted to that, considering the function of it. Considering why would that be attractive to them?
Right.
So this is an example of the type of profound thought that maybe a brother might not even understand.
Mm-hmm. I can speak on that because I've had to go back, me personally, you know, and find out why I operate the way I do. Why have I been moving in the spirit of lust? Why am I in the grocery store and I done got so good that I can look at where the sister going, you know what I'm saying, so I can already have my head turned that way. But I'm just one person on my level able to deal with that. Every brother's not able to deal with those things, and they may never get to the point, you know, to where they're able to sit down and deal with themselves, to think about what they doing, you know what I'm saying, as far as what we're doing to these sisters. Because what has actually ended up happening is we created a fantasy world for these sisters. Most brothers have. You know, the sister, they go to one man, they can't take the truth, so the brother lied to them. You know, so once they find out the truth or they get time to know the brother, then they go to the next man and they don't want the truth again, so they accept the fairy tale. And so they continue to live these fairy tales, and then, you know, we end up so much in a broken condition that no one can ever sit down and talk and be honest about where we actually are, because no one wants to deal with the pain of it.
Yeah. And interesting, something that a sister said, and most of them agreed, and I've had other sisters tell me the same thing. The one thing that a sister has a very serious problem with as it relates to brothers, and I would imagine this is cross-cultural also, men lie.
Mm-hmm.
And sister said, I'd rather you tell me the truth and hurt me and tell me something I really didn't want to hear than for you not to tell me the truth. I can deal with the truth because I know where you're coming from. But in an untruth, and the thing is that the brother knows he's telling an untruth, the sister knows he's telling an untruth,
Mm-hmm.
the brother knows that she knows that he's not telling the truth,
Right.
but they just let it go. And one of the things that is in the conversation is that I call it the Holy of Holies. It is not a physical place. It's a spiritual place that a sister will allow a brother to go in the physical act. That is the Holy of Holies. And when a sister trusts a brother, and I'm talking about real trust, I'm talking about that real, original black attraction, that chemistry, she will allow him in the Holy of Holies and do things for him that will blow his mind. But even if a sister will allow a brother to abuse her, tell untruths, I'm not saying physical, but just abuse her, but because she doesn't want to be lonely, she'll deal with the nonsense. She'll never let him in the Holy of Holies. There's a place she'll let him go, but so far, can't go no further than that. And this is something that as brothers we have to begin to think about in terms of our relationships and how we view our sisters, because we're all caught up in this maze. We're all caught up in it, and we're all carrying baggage that we share with our counterpart, and then that creates this type of relationships that when she moves on to the next, she carries that baggage with her. The brother carries his baggage with him. And so we are literally creating hostile relationships simply because we refuse to get rid of white supremacy and the philosophy of white supremacy, because white men have never been able to understand how to relate to as women, and we have inherited that concept. Brothers never had a problem. When you go back to Africa, you will see that men and women were on it. To have a god, you must have a goddess.
That's right.
You know, and we understood, Ma'at said, together we raise the nation. One is not more important than the other, but there certainly are roles that we play. There are roles that we play, and what's so troubling about the world we're living in today is like, if a woman wants to be a police officer, this society demands that she does the things that men do. But when you're dealing with a sister who's maybe 5'8" of a certain build, and she has to apprehend an individual that's 300 and something, she can't do what a man does. I mean, I'm not saying there are not sisters that can handle situations, but for the most part, women's physical structure is a certain way. A woman that wants to work for the fire department should not have to carry them heavy hoses to prove that she can carry those hoses. There's a job for women, for the feminine principle in firefighting. There's a place for that feminine principle. It doesn't have to be what men do. Right. Women don't have to put ties on if they're working for the police department. They don't have to look like men. But the world we're living in today says, oh, you want to be equal? Okay, then you have to be a man. But there's a place for women in the equal balance, and in Africa, you have this relationship. And what they find in police work is that women can talk a man out of doing something wrong better than a male policeman can.
Most definitely.
because she's already negotiating most of her life. She has to negotiate. She knows how to talk her way in and out of things. There is a place for women in all life, but they don't have to do what men do. The same thing with brothers. We have to face our pain. We have to face our pain. We have to face how we feel when we are in a job site and there is a sister that is a supervisor and we are not. And when sister who's supervisor is interacting with European males who are supervisors and we are there possibly as a janitor. How is it that we are to conduct ourselves? How is it that we are to feel? What is it? You know, and my thing is we have got to take our brothers. We as the elder generation have to take brothers, and we have to take them back to the rite of passage program, where we talk to them. Men are born with two brains, women are born with two brains. Men are born with a brain in the head and a brain in the head of their penis. Women are born with a brain in their head and a brain in their heart. If you look at the great majority of mistakes that men make, whether you're president of the United States, director of the CIA, you're willing to give everything you've ever lived your entire life for one physical experience. You're willing to let it all go. And women, in their era, they normally make mistakes of the heart. And during the rite to pass at the age of 13, men brought young brothers out, and Amos Wilson said they had a brain transplant. They took the brain from the penis and put it in the head. And women, the elder sisters, would take the brain from the heart of the young girls and put it in their head. So you work from a dual relationship. When a man and a woman both have had the brain transplant, that's the strongest relationship that you can have. The weakest relationship is when neither of them have had a brain transplant. And the ones that can survive, but one of them has great pain, is when one of them has had the brain transplant and one of them have not. Now, I'm speaking on a spiritual level.
Right.
I'm speaking about when elder brothers take young men out and teach them about what that act is and what that relationship is. That in fact, that relationship, when a man and a woman come together and join physically, that is literally creating God. When a man and a woman, when a man inserts himself into a woman, two people become one. And that electricity is what God is. God is that unique combination of both male and female principle that brings forward life. And so when I tell young brothers, I say, I tell young sisters, you know, your body is a temple. And everybody that knocks at your temple door, you don't want to let in. Right. And I tell brothers, even though the temple door may be open, you may not want to go in. Right. So you must be careful who you conduct your relationships with, because you leave, when a man and a woman have a physical relationship, this is from my study and also Dr. Jewel Pukra and the work that she has done. I mean, I've learned quite a bit from Dr. Pukra as it relates to these relationships. That man that has entered that woman remains with her for the rest of her life. When he inserts himself, he has become part of her very life. And the same is true as the man. Every woman that we engage, that act in, we carry her with us everywhere we go. And that's why we have to think twice about the physical relationships that we have. And we have to think twice about that temple that we're entering, and we have to see it as a temple. And we have to teach our young brothers this. A lot of the music that they're listening to is all wrapped up in that. And there are just fundamental things that we have to teach our young people, and I'm not sure if the brothers here are capable of just bringing it in. I'm hoping that the elders, as you go home, you talk to the younger brothers and help them understand. We may understand, but for them, they may not have all of the necessary information put on top of each other to understand. But the cornerstone to what I believe this sexual thing is about is that it is the one time that we are connected. And no matter how vile it may sound, and the whole idea about men who are attempting to get women to believe that their size will just bust them out like all sorts of stuff, that's that's an illusion. that is not what women want to hear. That is the same thing that we talk about, what women are made to believe that they have to be to their man. That's the same thing they put on us as men to make women think that's what women are looking for in us. You'd be surprised. We would be surprised sometimes to know what really attracts a woman to us. It could just be the way you look at her. It could be the way you smile. You know, it could be the way in which you laugh. That could attract. Like we see a woman with, yo, look at that sister. You know, we're attracted to physical, but women are not attracted to physical. Women are attracted to something sometimes we don't even know what has attracted them to us. And it doesn't have to be what we think it is. As men, we think of physical. So we think if we're strapping with muscles and have all this going on, that attracts. That may not be what attracts a woman to you. It could just be your smile. It could just be how you say good morning to her. That could be attractive to her. She could look to see you every morning so that she can hear you say good morning to her. And as men, we have to go back to our traditional ways, because this is what we did in Africa. This is what we did in Africa. We understood how to mate ourselves. That's why a lot of times we could meet the woman we were going to marry the same day that we married her. Because believe me, when you get married, I've been married 35 years, man. So when you get married to somebody, you meet the person that you really married the day you may know. I knew my wife a year and something longer than I got, but when we got married, woo, where you come from?
Right.
You know, and she probably felt the same way about me. Right. But you see, we have to be dedicated.